Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Time Sweeps podcast. I'm Gary.
I'm Wyatt.
And I'm Connor, and this week we're getting back into the history of armaments. Alright, folks, so as you can see, we are on actual video this week, hopefully. If my computer doesn't die, it's charging, so it would have to explode in order for this to go bad. Knocking on wood.
I was going to say, you want to see me do it?
No.
I'll explode.
So, yeah, last week, we didn't realize that my camera, my DSLR, only was allowed to do live view for up to 30 minutes before it shut off.
You know what's funny? It was set for the 10-minute thing. And
yeah.
We started recording, and then 9 minutes later, we started recording this. So, we had nothing.
Well.
Really?
Yeah.
So it was at
You're
none of
shitting
the
me.
show.
No, there's no a video in last week's episode.
Oh.
But it does have us sitting there.
That's annoying.
9 minutes.
And with no audio either.
That sucks.
It's just us sitting there being fools.
I don't know. I think that's hilarious for some reason.
Yeah, but hopefully...
If you want to see that,
it's gonna be...
The video's gone.
Yeah,
Hit the like button.
It's slightly of a less... I mean, it's a Logitech camera, so... It's not an SLR, but we gotta do what we gotta do. And Nikon, making consumer-grade cameras better, damn it.
We're getting there step by step. Go on.
Yes, sir.
I just don't know what to do with my hands now.
I was about to start singing a song, but I don't want to.
Free Guy yesterday.
You watched Free Guy?
Yeah, finally.
Finally?
Finally.
I thought you saw it before I did.
No, I finally watched Free Guy. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was silly, like super silly at some points. But like, I know it's supposed to be, but like the part where like the whole world is watching him do this. I was like, this would never happen.
No,
ever happen.
It was fun to watch.
It's kind of like reverse Truman Show.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Another movie I've never seen.
Really?
You've never seen Truman Show?
No, I really want to.
It's like fun but depressing.
Right, because like he doesn't know like that he's been living
entire
in a TV
life.
show his whole life, which is kind of sad. Maybe that's us. Maybe we're living in a TV show.
I already had that crisis when I was 9.
If I don't see it,
I was
good
a
afternoon,
TV
good
show,
evening,
it would have
good
been
night.
canceled 4 seasons ago.
Would it?
Yes.
Everyone likes a train wreck. That's why the Kardashians have had.
That's why the Flash is still on air.
That's why the CW is still on.
Wow. Wow, I am that hurt.
And it's been even more seasons than 4 since that show was good.
It's been a very, very long time.
I tolerated season 3, and season 4 is where they lost me with the Thinker.
I can't even remember what season 3 was.
Season 3 was Savitar.
Is that what it was?
Yep.
He was hard to look at.
It was kind of weird, and then the reveal that he's Barry under there.
It was me, Barry.
Anyway, history of armaments.
Oh, do you want me to go into a nerd news segment, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, go into nerd news. I feel like this is all nerd news right now.
Pretty much. Recently, we've had a how do I want to say all the DC movies for the rest of this year have been pushed back once again. 2 of the movies have been pushed into 2023, those being Aquaman 2 and The Flash. They will be then released next year after they stated that this year would be the year of the heroes. They released that big trailer with all of them.
Yep, that we saw during Batman.
Yep.
Like literally last week.
Funny thing though, Shazam got pushed to 2022.
I was going to say, Shazam got moved up. Black Adam's still coming out this year, and DC Super Pets, whatever, actually ended up also getting pushed back, taking Black Adam's original place in July. I don't remember when Black Adam's supposed to come out.
Why they delay it though?
No idea. I have not seen a thing that actually explains why anything was delayed or why or how Shazam got moved up.
But my question is, why is it directly after Batman released?
Good question. My thinking is probably because something internal shift. Something WB probably changed, and that's what's led to this kind of situation.
Well, WB needs to stand their freaking ground. They either need to make them all lighthearted, all dark, or somewhere in between based off a character because this is getting annoying.
I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is that they had a vision, a quote-unquote vision, and that vision was only money, and that didn't succeed the way they hoped. And it got derailed years ago.
Yeah.
And then their biggest success of that universe.
Yeah, with Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
The literal second movie.
And it went off the rails. That started in the writing process when they wanted to name the movie Son of Sun and Night of Night. Yeah, anyway, so that's pretty much the biggest news from this week about anything nerd-related. So far of 2022, Elden Ring is the best-selling U.S. game in the United States.
Yeah.
There also hasn't been that many game released so far. So it's like, yeah, I wonder why it's the best-selling game in the United States right now. Just putting it out there.
I mean, and also the PSVR 2 got revealed a few weeks ago, I think. So that's another nerd news.
As far as I can remember, that's about as big as it gets. If you visit radaalada.com, it's changed, and you can now get a certain PDFs and documents relating to all the stuff from the movie. A bunch of images you see the Riddler pull up, pictures of just the Riddler's stuff, certain documents he left for the Batman, stuff like that. You can get pictures of and look at them for yourself.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we had the reveal of some new Funko Pops for the new Peacemaker. For the Peacemaker show, there's Eagly, more Peacemaker himself. Yeah. What was it? Vigilante with a chainsaw.
Nice.
All sorts of stuff like that. And so far, there hasn't been much other big news. No new trailers, no video game announcements. Not that I can think of at this moment of recording.
Yeah. I mean, the only real big, news has really been tech. Apple released a new color of iPhone, and they're also
the green one.
Yeah.
Woo!
I know.
TBH, I might get it. Just on the simple fact that it's green.
That's it.
Well, I've been wanting a new phone. I've been rocking the Samsung, but so it's either a green iPhone or the Flip 3.
Flip 3, dude.
I know. I really wanted to get it but when I got this phone, which wasn't that long ago, the Flip 3 wasn't out, and then the next week it came out. I was like, "You mother!" I was so mad.
Have the flips been getting better?
Yeah. They've been leaping forward each new generation. The ones especially with the folds and then with the flips, they were awful. A lot of people had problems. The crease has been getting smaller and smaller with each new generation. My biggest thing is, which why I haven't gotten one yet, is with the 1 and 2, the cameras on them were just abysmal. They were not very good cameras, but with this one, they're kind of modernized the cameras with the Flip 3 and the Fold 3, which is kind of cool. I honestly just might wait till the Flip 4 comes out because I don't want the big book one. I just want the normal flip phone one, And the Motorola Razr I almost got, but it was the camera on that thing is disgusting.
I'll be honest, I've been looking at new phones, and the only reason that one of my biggest things is it hurts inside to think about it was thinking about getting an iPhone for the camera. It's I don't want to get one of these things.
Get a Pixel.
That's what I was.
Get
that was
a
my
Pixel or my phone takes amazing pictures.
I mean, the only reason I still have an iPhone is because 1, the camera, 2, I've been in the ecosystem since I was a kid. I had an iPod.
Well, see, that's why I wanted to get away from iPhone because it's the only thing I've ever had.
Yeah.
Besides my very first phone, which was a Verizon slide up on the side. But since then, my dad gave me his iPhone 4 after that, and I've had iPhone ever since. And I just wanted to try something new, and I don't regret getting this phone. I like it. The camera's really good on the S21. The front camera, I have noticed the front camera is kind of whack compared to the back. And especially compared to iPhones, the front camera is nowhere near where the iPhones is, but the back camera will compete.
Also, you also got to think about. I mean, iPhone. It's not the camera; it's the post processing. It's how the phone handles the photos most of the time. It's not a lot of the time. I mean, the cameras are impeccable; they're fantastic for a phone. But a lot of what iPhone's edge is the post processing and how they handle the photos. Because Apple products have been the go-to for photo and media editing for years now. Years. Photoshop, the first build of Photoshop, I'm pretty sure was a Mac app. It's leaps. Editing on a Apple product is superb. I've never had a problem other than editing on a 2012 Mac with 4 gigs of RAM that the school provided me for when I did photography and video editing for school. So, like, it's very, very good. They're very good at what they do, basically. So, but Android, I don't know if Android has gotten there yet.
Well, see, the thing is that Android was never like on par with the iPhones up until I'd say a few years ago, and like a lot of people, right? Well, and then see, like even processing wise, like it was slower, and like but the battery lasted longer than
lasted
the
enough
iPhone,
time,
right?
Yeah,
unlike the iPhone, but like I've noticed no difference than with the modern iPhones at all. I mean, like that's what I don't get. Like the same with like Chevy and like Ford and any sort of that kind of rivalry. Like sports rivalries I get, but like technology, like I don't see a point like against PlayStation or Xbox or phones or vehicles because they all do the same thing now. Like there's 4 apps that you can't get on this that you can get on an iPhone. And like vice versa, I think.
Yeah.
Like very few. And there's like 2 games that you can't get on Xbox that you can get on.
Right.
The only rivalry I see with technology is console versus PC. And I don't care.
It's so vastly different between the two.
And I don't care because I own both.
And the main issue with console versus PC is that, I mean, console, you have to optimize it very well, and usually you don't have any hiccups with it, like buffering. Like that's why Cyberpunk was such a big letdown, was because it didn't run. It wasn't optimized for the hardware that it was advertised for. I mean, the thing about PC though is that you have to optimize it for so many different component combinations. Like, what if you have this CPU with this graphics card and this amount of RAM? I mean, the PlayStation and the Xbox are static. They're not going to change unless there's a new revision, and then they update the game to fit the new revision, right?
Right.
But PC, so vast. There's so many different combinations. Like you either have 16 gigs, 32 gigs of RAM, a Ryzen 7 or an i9, like, and those are clocked different speeds within that range, and we should probably get to Armaments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were taking our time. Like, we got to make sure that we get certain things out of order. We got a little sidetracked.
Yeah.
So last time on Armaments, we left off kind of like in a medieval period going into the Renaissance with a bunch of weapons that stayed pretty static for a while. What the Age of Exploration, which is what I want to start to really focus on, you start getting the beginnings of firearms in Europe, which is where they really take off. Like
muskets.
We start getting like smoothbore rifles and all this. Well, they weren't rifles, but because you need rifling.
Yeah, they were handheld cannons.
Yeah,
like is honestly the best way to describe firearms back then.
And then you also have, like the different kind of swords that people would end up be taking with them going across the ocean. That's where you really see the height of swords, in my opinion. Because it's really easy to, have that on a boat and pull that out.
Right.
Instead of,
waving around sometimes you don't have time to reload your gun. You don't have 3 extra minutes to reload your gun.
Right. And a lot of these voyages, guns are expensive.
Right.
All that money went into different things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like boat stuff and supplies that you could be out at sea for a long time. Like boat stuff and food.
Yeah.
And women.
Fair enough.
I mean, for the time.
That's essentially. So this is where we get us lots of stuff. I can't remember a lot of the names for them, but you get like, not the Cutlass, but early stuff. More stuff that you'd see like what Jack Sparrow would actually carry, not like what he does carry, if that makes sense. Stuff that's much more like a machete, but with a thing that'll cover your hand.
Like just a general like saber type.
That's the thing. It wasn't a saber.
Wasn't a saber?
It was heavy.
It was a heavy. Okay.
It was like a heavy one-handed thing. It was, like I say, much more like a machete, because you'd have to take that thing wherever you go. It's either going to kill someone, kill something, or you're going to cut through some kind of thicket with it. We have a friend, Larry. He'd be able to tell me what it is. I don't remember the specific name for it, and I didn't check my text. He might be in there. It might be from back like 6 months ago. But that is the type of swords that we'd be seeing at this time that people would carry on. Much more, equivalent to a machete. The naval cutlass, as we know it, didn't come about until much later.
Because a
firearms
machete
got better.
Like a machete is like a versatile tool.
Right.
Almost. Like it's kind of like a pickaxe or like an axe. Like an axe could be used for tools or killing people, I guess.
And this was essentially that. This was everything you needed, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
If you need to slaughter a pig, perfect. You need to get through the jungle, perfect. This thing was exactly what you needed to be left with if you're on a boat going somewhere. And then, of course, there was more decorative swords that people had that were also very similar. But the more you go on, the more you actually get stuff that's much more similar to cutlasses and sabers, because this was kind of the time of rapiers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was about to say in rapiers and stuff. Like
those aren't exactly what you'd find on boats, of course, but those are like the ornamental stuff that you'd see people carrying around, like if they were some kind of
Carax
officer. That's not the word I remember hearing before.
Sometimes crab sword was a type of sword invented in Portugal in the 15th century.
Crab sword sounds closer to what I remember. Is there any other names listed?
Is the XLR not good, Gary?
No, it is. I just can you guys do this for me?
Yeah, I'll double check it.
Plugged in. I don't know if you guys hear that. I don't know if that's always been there, but
try. I don't know.
Here, I'm trying to see if I can hear it. That's that digital noise?
The hum?
Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from.
Has that always been there?
Is the power connected all the way?
Oh, let me check. I'm still able to kind of hear the hum.
Me too.
I wonder what's causing it.
I don't know.
Here, would it help if I unplug this and plug it back in? Or would that screw everything up?
I mean, we might just have some interference with some sort of signal. I don't know.
We might just have to deal with it for a little bit.
Oh, well. Anyway, back to what you were saying.
But yeah, that's essentially the type of sword that I was talking about.
Yeah.
It's made to be heavier. Sometimes the tip of it would be kind of shaped so that way when you bring it down,
it'll hook into them, kind of.
Not hook into them. It would be just heavier. So that way it would go down.
Oh, it's kind of like a... What is it called? Like it's like the sickle type deal that, like Egyptian, like it was. I mean, that broader tip.
That was more like an axe. This would be more like you have a blade, and there's a little bit that curves out forward and then goes back down.
Oh, okay.
And it'd be like a mass of metal at the top, kind of similar, but it'd be still tapered like a sword. It was just more mass that was there.
Okay.
So it'd be more like a, well, kind of like a kukri, if you've ever seen a kukri. But
kukri?
without that shape, like the whole bend shape, just the tip of it being a little bit thicker in length, like width-wise.
Like, are we talking about like mummy sword, like the Sword of the Mummy movies?
No, those are kopeshes.
Kopesh. Oh,
I remember talking about those last time I was on here. Or last time we did the Armaments.
Starts with a K. Same
Kopesh.
thing. Yeah.
Kukri is different. It comes from a different region.
Okay.
A katana is what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
I thought we were going with the it starts with a K thing.
Yeah, kukris though. The lovely, lovely kukri. I don't know what year they actually originate from. It's a wonderful piece of metal.
Wonderful piece of metal.
Yep. If I'm not mistaken, they're from an area of India.
Yeah, and then you had like the black powder pistols and stuff that all shot 50 caliber balls of lead that would ruin your day if you were shot by one.
So yeah, these early weapons inspired by a lot of the stuff we'd see from China at the time after they've been experimenting with, like, rockets, literal
and
rockets
things that
and
blow up,
flamethrowers, and arrows that explode.
Well, they used them for non-lethal things like fireworks.
Well, they used gunpowder for other stuff like that too.
Yeah.
And arrows as well, but it was actually, if you shoot something at somebody and it goes boom, art's what comes second.
Yeah.
Like Greek fire.
You can make it beautiful though.
It's true. Usually that still happens second though.
Fair.
After you find out you can repaint a dude with an arrow, you then find out, hey, wait a minute, I can do this in different colors too.
Pink.
I was gonna say, let's make him explode, but pink. But like they had these early. It was like a cannon on a stick.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the exact name for it. It was a form of something.
It was like in Mulan.
Kind of. That's more of like a rocket. This was a stick that you hold, and you have to put in a ball at the front of it, and you stand there, and it launches, and you have to take a while to reload.
Is it like the shape of like a Panzerfaust almost?
Not exactly.
But like bigger?
It's, a literal stick with an itty-bitty cannon on the front.
That sounds silly.
It kind of is, but it was effective.
That sounds like something out of like Fortnite or something. It's like a spear with a gun on the back.
Imagine it more like artillery fireworks. You know how you have to load in the firework into
yeah.
More like that, but you have it on a stick.
Yeah.
So like a tiny cannon on a stick.
Yeah.
And it still takes another dude to load it. This thing launches hard. You were shooting a cannon, but you have to hold it. It takes like 2 dudes to do it. If I remember correctly.
What she said.
Essentially.
Yes.
But like, so like after like you had like the black powder, the way like the musket and other black powder rifles work is that you're basically making the bullet in the casing inside the gun itself.
Yeah, pushing it all in there.
Right. It's like, like the little like ammo, like a little 9mm cartridge, like you're just building that in the gun like manually, and then you put some in your little dish, and then you'd have that little piece of flint, and like a lot of people, like a lot of movies like of the time, like when you pull that trigger, it's like automatic. But like the guns in real life, it was like kind of on like a second delay,
Yeah, and
like you pull the trigger.
We're not even at a stage where there'd be flint style guns.
Right.
They're using a match.
Mm-hmm.
So like literally imagine a firework, but you're pointing it at somebody,
right,
and it kills them.
Well, I moved ahead of someone a little bit in time to like flintlocks and stuff, because you had the flintlocks that was the case, and then you had the same thing, but we invented this thing. A great little thing called a cap.
I mean, yeah, that's still much later. That
right.
took almost 150 years to get to, if longer.
Well, no, like, and those things ruled, like flintlocks ruled the world for a long time, and people don't really realize how long that flintlocks were around for.
Right, it was a long time. Almost as, like, imagine how long America was a country up until, like, literal birth of a nation.
Yeah.
Actually, no, we were still using match-based stuff for a while. As an actual nation, we were still using flintlocks, and then we get further in. We never had percussion caps until, like 1850s, relatively.
Right, and a lot of people actually didn't like cap guns when they were invented. Yes, they were easier, but like, if you run out of caps, you can't shoot your gun.
You run out of black powder, you can't shoot your gun. To me, it's like the same situation.
And if you shoot your gun once, you can't shoot your gun again.
Or if you lose all your caps, though, or if like you lose them, or like all your stuff is there on the flintlock. Like, and you could always pick up a piece of flint off the ground or something.
If you can find flint on the ground.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been easier back in the day.
I don't know about that. You still had to like get that stuff and then get it ready for like guns and then have it around. It was more like you could find it easier, obviously, than now. But it's still gonna be like if you're in war, you're gonna die no matter what.
You're literally in a constant state of one in the chamber.
Right.
Well, that's why we had swords on the end of the guns as well.
I was gonna say that's the reason we were using spears. Essentially, you take a knife, put it on the front of your long rifle,
and that's another thing.
And you're ready to go.
Like those rifles were like 5 foot long, like or more.
They're thereabouts. They
5 to 6 foot long.
I don't know about 6 foot.
I think so.
6 foot.
Yeah.
That's
the full size gun, the full size one, not the carbine. I think it was like 6 foot long.
What year are we referring to?
Probably like America, the Revolutionary War.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
A Brown Bess is not that big.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No.
A Brown Bess rifle for squirrel hunting.
No.
They're squirrel guns, dude.
I just had to break the tension.
No, a 50 caliber.
A squirrel gun.
You don't shoot a 50 caliber ball at a
Tell that
squirrel.
when that's the only gun available. A Brown Bess rifle is not 6 feet long.
Wicked Witch of the West, bro.
No, this isn't Wicked Witch of the West, bro. I have held a Brown Bess. It is not 6 feet long.
It was probably a carbine version.
There is no such thing as a carbine version of a
Brown Bess.
Yes, there
is. They
make
a
Brown
them.
Bess. These things were made for some hick to be like, oh, I'm going to go shoot my squirrels and then pay my taxes to King Georgie.
Such a weapon was typically 5.5 feet long.
That's a big difference than 6 feet, Gary.
It's not even that much longer, though.
That is a big difference.
That's 6 inches.
That is a big difference in terms of a gun.
You know what else is the big difference of?
Yeah, Connor, go ahead. Go ahead. That makes a huge difference.
I said 5 to 6 foot long, by the way.
And 6 is
5
a big
to 6, I win.
Is a big
I
difference.
win, you lose, goodbye.
That is not the objective
Leave.
of what I was saying.
I'm just kidding.
God, this argument rivals the water.
No,
argument.
we were.
No.
I was way more mad about that.
And I was
here.
too.
Like I was straight up pissed.
Aw.
I'm just messing around here.
Sure, yeah, messing around.
God, that was
like,
one of my crowning moments. Just starting that. And
It'll follow you and mark you till your grave.
And letting it go. That was fantastic.
Rifles. The idea of rifling was actually like a huge deal.
Well, and see the invention of the mini ball was, and they call it a mini ball, but it looks like the top of a bullet. It's like in that cone shape.
Minier.
Huh?
People call it mini ball too.
But the name is French though. Minier ball.
Why we live in America?
Yeah, and we used them in
This
a
is
war.
why we don't
people
call 'em-
pronounce them as Minier.
We don't call it the pipichet. We call it the PPSH.
We don't call it the pipichet because we don't speak Russian.
I don't speak French.
And that's very different than the entire people that made this. Okay, I don't know. I like to call it a Minier because that's the name of it. PPSH, you're not going to tell me that there's just not enough letters. Pipichet. Pipichet. It's like the kid that open finger claps at everything.
The Minier ball or
Minier.
the mini ball. It says Minier or mini.
Claude Antoine Minier.
Wyatt. It says the Minier, which I do agree. It says Minier
And the reason
there.
it's called mini
Or
is because
mini
a bunch
ball.
of dumb hicks in the South during the Civil War.
Wyatt, I'm a dumb hick. I'm a dumb hick.
Mini. Minier.
I'm a dumb hick.
Percussion caps and
Viewers,
Minier.
they are choosing violence today.
Yes. You're going to get thrown into this. You're wearing a Switzerland hoodie. I'm pulling you into this.
I'm sorry.
Here, hold my gold as I go into war. I'm going to go die real quick.
It literally
Take that
says,
reference as you will.
It literally says Minier or mini, so we're both right.
Minier.
And you can't disagree with the fact that we're both right there.
I'm going to swear
Tomato,
on this,
tomato. Let's
this
get
dead
on
man.
with it, people.
No, because we're also missing a bunch of history between this and this. We're like speedrunning this to an extent. Like long arms have a huge history, and they shaped an entire how we win.
I don't even
everything.
think rifling was for those mini balls.
Mini balls?
They were
Probably
around,
not, because
rifling was around yet.
Rifling was expensive.
It was just like, hey, yo.
Rifling existed at that point, but it was expensive. I
Right.
don't remember here. I'm gonna try to look it up real quick, but I know
I just wanted to get to a part in history where I actually knew stuff about because before
this
here,
is why I tell you to try to have notes
up
because it's
before
a
here.
history of armaments.
But we already did the sword stuff.
Right, and guns have a long history too. It's more complex than swords. It's like if I said the first Kodak camera is the exact same as the DSLR.
It is.
Connor, take over. Connor, take over. I'm looking this up.
Okay. All right. No.
Civil War.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Connor, I swear to God, in your Switzerland hoodie.
Well, I mean, it's.
I don't want to look up Longstreet. I'm trying to look up long arms. I swear to God.
There's no. I mean,
I don't care about General Longstreet right now.
There's no mirror, I don't think, in the brownie. Right?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Because there was a small little ass viewfinder in there, but it was small, black and white, and awful. So.
This wasn't the argument I was trying to incite, but yeah.
But.
Okay, so
yeah.
The Springfield 1861 was a rifled musket. I couldn't remember that for sure. That was the standard long arm musket rifle of the Union also the Confederacy. But the Union might have had a few more.
The Union probably had a lot more, not just a few, because the South was just grabbing whatever they can get. They didn't care what it was.
Oh no, they had almost whatever they could get their hands on.
Right. That's
and
what
they
I
tried
just
getting
said.
well, yeah. But they tried getting stuff from exports from other places. They
Right.
tried getting these interesting really not early because sniping still technically was a thing, but these really interesting sniper rifle muskets from England. And then the Union was just like, hey.
Yeah, wasn't England like funding both sides?
It was funding the Union, and then the Confederacy was like, hey, we're trying to fight against them because they're encroaching on us. And then the Union was like, they still have slaves, right? And the British were like, ah, crap. We outlawed that like 20 years ago. Get with the program.
And here we are in Missouri, just like, we don't know what's going on.
Yeah, in the state of Missouri, that was supposed to be like the only slave state above the Mason-Dixon line. And then you got all these people over here. Hey, it's part of the Confederacy. And then the Union was, no,
it's ours.
And then everyone in Neosho, Missouri was like, well, at that time was like, eh. And then they formed their own capital of their Confederacy.
Yeah, they did their own thing.
Yeah.
And Kansas City still had slave trade going through it.
Yeah.
But once the war started, it kind of...
Yeah, kind of like Chaz. Just people doing their own thing. You remember Chaz? That was a great moment in modern history. But anyway.
there were a lot of these rifles at the time. By this point, they were, like I was saying, rifled because it made them much more accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, the American Revolution would have been the time where there was a question of like, where are rifles going?
Right.
That was a big turning point in terms of time, not so much like the American Revolution itself involving the world. But weapons were getting better.
Yeah.
And that's where you go into the turn of the century. You get stuff like the Crimean War over in Europe and the Napoleonic Wars and how everything changed there. That was a much bigger deal and weapons being involved. And then, boom, rifles got better all of a sudden.
Well, wasn't like the Civil War the first use of the Gatling gun?
Technically.
Okay.
That's where you see its first use. And then later on, a few years later, you also get the first machine gun. Or, well, what we remember as the first machine gun in terms of a lot of stuff that we see today.
Well, yeah.
The Maxim.
I mean,
the Gatling's technically the first machine gun.
Yeah, because it's on a gear system and it's like go. Did you have to reload all of them at once, or did it self-reload?
Well, define self-reload.
Like, did you have to fill all the barrels with powder again?
No.
Okay.
You had a stick mag. Don't know how that worked for this time period because cartridge ammunition was very new in like the late 1850s and was not a thing.
Yeah.
Other than like one dude that was kind of like, this is pretty cool.
You had to make springs yourself. Damn.
Springs.
Oh.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. I thought, like, if it was like a cartridge fed.
I mean, it was gravity.
Oh, it was
gravity.
Gravity.
Mag.
Okay. Oh, like.
And the Maxim also didn't have like a spring box magazine. Okay. It would be using.
You see, I don't know a lot about guns. I know a lot about swords.
So this time period, you're seeing change in guns. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You're getting all sorts of crap, and then finally, the god of everything comes down from the skies, and it's called cartridge ammunition.
And it's still black powder, though. It's not.
Well, yeah, it's still
right.
It's just
smokeless powder. Is that what the modern is?
Smokeless powder was a big deal after after a lot.
That's
of
like this is like what we're using nowadays.
Turn down my top end a little bit. I'm hearing my.
You're not on 3. You're on 2.
Yeah, I'm hearing my tongue flick a little bit. Thank you. Hello. Thank you. That's good.
Smokeless.
But like black powder, and a lot. So there was a big thing.
I don't remember the first time we got used smokeless. I don't remember when that happened.
We're like in the Wild West now, right?
Yeah.
Thereabouts.
We're like
imagine it's the Reconstruction period.
Yeah, we're like entering.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot to remember. Pepper boxes. Lots of revolvers. This was a time where you're getting all sorts of weird stuff. Didn't even talk about duck foots and all sorts of weirdness, but pepper boxes, revolvers, black powder revolvers of single action and some double action revolvers. First double action revolver was made 1858 by something Star. I'm related to him. I'm taking that to my grave. Continue.
Wyatt, Human Encyclopedia, Microdrop.
A really bad version of it, though. It'd be more like crappy trivia game.
Well, so we had like basically flintlocks, then we had caps, and now we're on cartridge guns. And cartridge guns were a big, like, innovative thing that's like new and exciting because the fact that you don't have to, it's all there in the casing, and you don't have to do like reload your stuff yourself.
Makes it real convenient,
right? And you could carry more of it, and you could so capacity raises and speed rises immensely with like stuff like that. Actually, one of my favorite early cartridge black powder weapons is a Springfield Trapdoor. Actually, the first cartridge gun like ever standard issue in the U.S. military. It's so, and a lot of I forget what the gun's called, but it was a cap gun, and a lot of those were actually converted to a Springfield. They weren't Springfields, obviously, because Springfields isn't made of. But the U.S. Army actually converted a lot of them to the same system, and it's called a trapdoor because you're holding the gun like this, you flick up this like metal gate basically, and you put the round in there and you close it, and then the hammer's right here and it comes and strikes down the pin, right?
Yeah.
It's very similar to Martini Henrys.
Right. And so
or a lot of Martini Henrys.
The cap gun was had almost looked the same here, but it didn't open obviously because it's a cap gun.
Yeah.
So a lot of like they were, instead of making the whole gun, they were just making the little trapdoor and part, and they were putting that onto the old cap guns because the U.S. military had thousands of those from the Civil War
just
and
previous
stuff.
conflict and orders and retrofit what you have to make it easier.
So, and that's actually a lot of, we see a lot of that throughout history, not just in America, but like a lot of that like refurbishing stuff in history, especially with firearms and like weapons,
And at this point, we're starting to see the downplaying of swords. You'd really only find swords in certain cases, but bayonets were extremely popular because, once again, when in doubt, spears.
Yes.
If you can stab someone at a slight distance, by God, stab that person at a distance.
What about in Asia? Are they still a big thing in Asia, or
it
depends?
It's very defined.
Bayonets were widely used up until like World War II.
Oh, bayonets are still widely used, depending on where you go.
Yeah.
Because when in doubt,
stab somebody.
Stabby. You can always rely on something that doesn't need ammo. And that's why Daryl in The Walking Dead uses a crossbow.
But
you need ammunition.
You need bolts.
You need bolts, but you can go get it. You can go yank it back out. Bullet, good luck. You can reuse it, but you have to
you can reuse the casing.
Fish it out.
It's possible.
You could reuse the original.
You could reuse
their hollow points.
Theoretically, okay.
No.
If it's a hollow point,
no. Maybe if they're FMJ, it's a stretch, though, because those skulls are said to be, they're really soft. So I just assume that 90% of bullets just go straight through.
That's why I say theoretically.
Because
melted.
The way you see them stab things, they use this much force.
Right.
And the zombie dies. When it's
going through
you
a zombie.
You need to wind up from, down here to stab through a human skull.
Right.
And, you need to use all your might.
If
you're going through here, which is what they do on
the
show.
The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners does a great job of the Force type of stuff. You have to push it in.
There's Jedi in that game?
No,
yeah.
Force. Hush. So
you guys would have crapped your pants if that started floating.
If you could do that, there are so many other things we could have been doing with that.
Well, we're time to get it in VFX.
I was gonna say at this point,
I need to brush up on my Blender.
We'll get there.
Yeah. So we're in the Wild West. We have
all the good
stuff. We have lever guns. We have common Colt revolvers, single action, and then we actually have I think it's a Springfield. It's like a hinge. The hinge one.
Hinge.
It has a big hinge on the front of it. A Schofield.
There you go. Okay.
Now Schofield, and there's a big hinge, and actually it's a hinge brake or something like that, top brake or something like that, right on top in front of the hammer.
Barrel brake.
No.
Not exactly.
Nerf gun.
But there was another little it looked like a hammer, and you push that down in the whole front of the revolver, and you got to see the whole back of the.
Pretty sure it's a Schofield.
I think it's a Schofield.
I can't remember.
It's a Schofield.
See, that's where my biggest problem comes from, is not remembering the names of everything.
Is that the basis of the?
This is where I start to remember names.
Is that the basis of the double barrel shotgun in Doom?
No.
Okay.
That would be the double barrel shotgun.
Okay.
Because at that point, shotgun shells were the Wild West's best friend.
Okay.
Yeah, that.
The Schofield.
So
that's a hinge.
There. I didn't realize we were talking about a revolver. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that's a hinge, and then this, with the, the cylinder?
Yeah.
And the whole barrel would fold up.
I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
You load that. It's way easier than loading a single action Colt revolver, because there's this little piston that you have to individually push out each empty casing, and like after a lot of time, I'm sure you got really quick at doing that. But like this was just so easy to just break open that, all your bullets fly out.
See, that's why I like a lot of dudes with black powder revolvers. They just carry extra cylinders with them,
right,
full of ammo, and just switch that out and start going, which is a big deal during the
something
Civil War.
I've always wanted to try is cowboy action shooting. It's like a sport like nowadays, like where you have a revolver, a shotgun, and a rifle. It's usually a lever action rifle.
I would hope so.
And you basically go through a course, and it's called cowboy action shooting, and you're using like a double barrel shotgun.
Why isn't this a thing I already knew about? This sounds like something I should be like rocking already.
Yeah, you never heard of this?
No.
I figured you had it.
No, I have never heard of this.
You need to look up on YouTube cowboy action, cowboy action shooting run.
Meanwhile, I don't know
you know that video.
Guns.
You know that video of Keanu Reeves training for John Wick,
I know
and
about
he's
that.
like going through the thing. It's
I know
basically
about
that, but
those.
much higher paced, and you're wearing a get up, and you have cowboy era guns, like a double barrel shotgun with hammers.
What kind of revolvers do they allow? Single action, double action?
Single action. I think some guys use double action, but it's not as cool to use single action. I mean, it's not as cool to use double action than it is to use single action.
I don't know about that. What is the
really
difference? Nice to just.
What is it?
So double action.
Trigger does one thing. Trigger does two things. That's the difference.
So a single action, you have to pull back the hammer before you fire.
Double
action, you could just pull the trigger.
It's semi-auto versus full,
Not
more manual.
I mean, sorta.
So single action, you pull the hammer back to strike the bullet.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to pull it back. It sticks. You pull the trigger. It releases and strikes the bullet. On a double action, you just pull the trigger. The hammer comes back and then hits the bullet, and you can fire again.
Yeah.
So theoretically, sort of like
it's a mechanical semi-auto type deal.
Kind of.
Okay.
Semi-automatic has a lot more mechanism going on.
Yeah, I know, but
in the
it's
game of
the
Red
principle.
Dead, the double action revolver sucks, which I don't know why they made it so bad.
I have no idea either.
You know why?
Because
I don't know why.
There is no. I don't have a good reason.
Wait, do you have to cock it back in Red Dead?
No, in Red Dead, the double action revolver, I think they just thought it would be OP to have something with high damage to have a higher fire rate. So they just nerfed the crap out of it and made it basically unusable.
So how would you use a single action in that game?
I mean, he does it for you. Like Arthur, the character you play as, cocks it each time before he fires.
It just takes slightly longer to shoot.
Okay. Yeah. I thought.
And then there's the Mauser, the broom handle Mausers in that game.
Oh my god, I love
I
that.
thought you just have to
C96.
press a button for it to cock back and boom, cock back, boom.
That's
not
what
real life.
I mean,
that's what a single action.
But
I know, but I was talking about in Red Dead.
I mean, the game does that on its own.
I know, but
whoa. What was I gonna say? And then so the Mauser C96.
There's another gun I can't remember the name of that was same period, and the way it looks, it's in Battlefield 1. It's in the first Red Dead Redemption game. It's very sleek, and the spring is back here in the back of the actual.
Yeah, it's
cocking.
and it's long too.
Yeah, I love that gun. I cannot remember the name of it though.
And it's like the spring is like behind your hand.
Yes, it's very
what's
much
that
of a
gun
recoil
called?
system, and it's a very fascinating mechanism to me.
In Red.
We're looking up guns on right now.
I just don't know the name of it.
It's because it's like when you hear it, it's just like, oh, I know what you're talking about. I'm sure it would have been probably easier if you look at base guns from Battlefield 1.
I'm already here though.
Yeah, but
I'm already here.
But da da dun 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 dun.
no, I don't
Da
know.
da dun 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 dun.
I thought we were doing the Muppets.
They just call it a semi-automatic pistol.
No,
thing.
that's da 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 da.
Yeah, I know. I just the speed you're doing it at, I was just.
Oh, that pistol
confused
too.
for a
What's
minute.
that pistol called? Where it's like a
volcanic.
like a lever action pistol.
Hold on, scroll back up. I saw the gun we were looking for.
I know, I did too, but they only said it was the semi-automatic pistol.
Dang it. Battlefield 1, don't let me down. They give like a very basic name, but it would be easier to... Hold on, why don't we just look up semi-auto pistol from Red Dead name?
That's what I did.
Pistol. Red Dead. Real name.
The Borcard
C93. Manufactured in 1893.
Makes sense.
I love the shape of the 1893. I love the way that
That's like a really early magazine gun.
Yes. External magazine, at least.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, this probably should also go with saying there was also a time period when electricity was still, kind of new.
Right.
And they tried making the Gatling Gun Electric even at that point. Like, shortly after it was new.
Really?
It had a battery on it, and the only problem was, it wasn't the actual battery function. It was just that it just wasn't that good of a mechanism.
Oh, yeah. Early electronic mechanisms weren't.
It wasn't the actual electronics, though, that was the problem.
Really?
The electric component was fine. The magazine function was the issue.
What was the issue with it?
It was, they tried doing a gravity feed, but it was bigger because it would fire more.
Yeah. And
they couldn't get to function the way that they needed while the magazine was on top. So they had this big O-ring style
too much
drum
weight?
mag. They kept getting jammed.
Too much weight, probably.
It wasn't the weight itself. It was the bullets getting stuck on each other. It wasn't siphoning. The bullets would get stuck in the actual magazine before they could get into the gun.
Were the bullets like on a chain, or were they just like in there?
Just said they were in a gravity drum mag.
Oh.
So imagine like a paintball gun.
Yeah.
But bullets.
There's a reason it was jamming then.
Exactly. It didn't catch on very well.
They needed to add some
sort
of rails.
Me? I'll get to it in a second.
Like, their system seemed to, the bullets got stuck in the magazine, even though, theoretically, the point of attachment to the gun wasn't that different than the regular stick mag that they had before.
Well, because it's got stuck in the little funnel, probably.
Well, they both had the same system of here. It was just slightly adjusted because it was a drum style. So the actual attachment point was weird for some reason. It stayed the same, but something internal that they did for the drum mag versus the stick mag changed everything.
Well, when the actual area where the bullets feed through, I'm talking so it's a drum, so it goes it's here, it's a big bulb, and then little thing to attach, right?
Yes.
So theoretically, could the bullets coming through whenever it gets smaller, get stuck, not moving? That's why it got jammed.
That was essentially the problem.
Yeah.
That's what I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're on the same page.
Yes, we're on the same page.
Do you guys want to know why lever actions were never standard issue in the military?
I know why.
Took too long.
Do you want to know why?
Took too long, probably.
No, you don't want to know why?
No, I know why.
Okay.
I was telling Connor, no, that's not.
I
the
hope
reason.
that we have the same reason, because this is what I've just heard and read. So, the reason lever actions were never standard issue. I mean, they were used in the military,
right,
by certain units.
Yeah.
But the reason that bolts were preferred rather than levers is because you couldn't fire as easily from the prone position.
Oh, yeah.
With the lever action.
That makes sense.
That's what I know it as.
That makes sense.
With the because if you're laying on the ground, you can't do. You'd have to turn your weapon, and you'd lose
you'd lose your sighting. Yeah.
Right. So that's why bolts have always been preferred for standard issue in the military.
Yeah.
Until, I think, the Grand was the first one that wasn't.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah.
Right. Or the Garand, I guess.
I mean, that wasn't lever, right?
No, that was the first semi-automatic rifle we had.
Yeah.
Semi-automatic service rifle.
Yeah.
Right. And before that, we had a bolt action called the Krag, which is my favorite bolt action the U.S. military's ever used. I think this is the first smokeless rifle that we used standard issue in U.S. military, was the Krag Jorgensen. And it was really cool. It was a 5-round internal magazine, and the way it worked is that there was a thing that you pushed out, and you can just drop 5 bullets in, and you'd close the thing and line it up for you, and then you'd have the bolt, right? And then there was that one gun that turned into a sniper. We started using it as a sniper, but it kind of looks like the Car 98, but I don't think that's what it's called. It's actually called. I think it's a Mauser. Maybe.
Is it a Mauser rifle?
Maybe.
I was gonna say, I was trying to remember the name of this lever action I like, and it's just the Winchester model 1894.
Okay.
I could only remember Winchester.
Let me see it.
It's just standard. This was the base.
What's it called? Is it the rolling block rifle? Where you pull the two things back, you pull the hammer and the little thing, the door back, and then you put the massive bullet in there, and then close it back up, and then pull the hammer back the rest of the way, and that thing was known as the Buffalo Killer or something.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. That's what I would remember it as Buffalo rifle.
Right, because it was shot around that big,
you could
huge,
just take them down.
But that was before the Krag and the Springfield Trapdoor.
Here we go. My favorite one of the 1800s. It's a beautiful piece of machinery.
I'm into the 1900s now, like early 1900s, like 19.
We're getting there. I'm getting there.
Well, that's what like the Krag, like that was used in the early 1900s.
This beautiful piece of machinery.
Oh, the
model 1897 pump-action shotgun from Winchester. Perfect for the U.S. military in 1917 when we were sending a bunch of hick boys over to Europe.
And terrible for guys with big hands. Don't have big hands and use the shotgun.
I'll be honest, I haven't actually held one, so I don't.
Well, the problem with the big hand thing is that like that has an external priming mechanism, unlike its the newer counterpart, which is known as like in most video games as the combat shotgun, or the trench shotgun, which is the more modern version of that gun. So, but that when you pulled back the, I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say. When you pulled back the pump, like a little thing would come back to arm the hammer, and that would run into a lot of bigger.
Were you gonna say a C word?
No, I was not.
Okay.
I was gonna say foreskin.
I thought you were gonna say. I would refer that to a very different area of a shotgun.
Only because a Burt Kreischer comedy special, he talks about how his arms dealer sold him a semi-automatic instead of a pump one. He's like, no. You gave me the circumcised one. I want the one where you have to pull the hood back. But a little pull. That's not the right term for it, but it like came out.
It's a metal chunk,
and it pulled the hammer back, basically.
A primer.
Primer. That's a good word. And that would run into. Luckily, not a lot of people were very big back then, but it'd run into your hand right here and like cut you up pretty good. That's why a lot of modern people have problems with that shotgun. Then the newer one came out with the whole internal hammer and internal mechanism, and you didn't really have to worry about that anymore. So yeah, but that is a great shotgun.
It's one of the best.
Revolutionized shotguns. And there's actually something that came out around a similar time was the semi-automatic shotgun like that.
I think that's another one that I'm thinking of that was made by Browning.
Yeah, I think it was made by Browning.
God bless John Moses Browning.
Our Lord and Savior.
He revolutionized everything. If you wanted someone who was efficient at killing people that didn't make the Maxim machine gun, you wanted John Moses Browning. John Browning shotgun. He made a lot of shotguns.
I think he made that pump shotgun.
He might have. I can't remember.
I think he made that shotgun.
Browning shotguns. This is not helpful.
That was the 87?
1897.
97.
I think it was, 97.
Model 97.
Browning shotgun, first model.
Audience, if I seem quiet, it's just because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about when it comes to a lot of.
There it is. The Browning
rifles,
Auto 5.
So.
The Browning Auto 5. That, like, revolutionized
because you
shotguns.
get 5 shots relatively fast.
Pow.
I was gonna say you're gonna having a good time when you're shooting that thing.
That thing is what we call cancer in the newest Call of Duty installment.
Yeah, Auto 5. That one's even different than that.
Right. Well, in the game it's modeled after that gun.
Sort of.
I think it's like a sequel to it.
Okay.
But like you could in the game, which a lot of firearm aficionados like make fun of Vanguard because you are desecrating these beautiful weapons. By the whole like
everything, just everything.
You can put like a
anime girl skin on.
That's not that's one issue.
It's the fact that you could take the stock off of every weapon in the game.
Oh yeah,
and
you should not be able to take the stock off of an Arasaka.
A 12-round drum on that shotgun.
It's just
and
weird. It's an internal feed, the Auto 5 at least. So you're putting 5 rounds inside and then firing from there.
You know what's the thing that irks me the most about Vanguard is that. When you put an external magazine on the Grand, which you shouldn't be able to do in the first place, it still pings when you run out of ammo.
I've noticed that. It's very bothersome.
That wouldn't exist if you had an external magazine on the Grand. That
exactly.
wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
But Garand, however you guys want to say, I
say
Grand.
I say or Grand or Garand or Grand. I say all of them. It just depends.
I mean,
on
people
what
who
I'm
say
talking
Grand, they're just missing a vowel.
Right. Well, and it's actually pronounced Garand.
Garand.
Because the guy who's made its last name is Garand, but us American hicks say Grand.
I say
or Garand. I say mini ball.
I just call it whatever it's
because I'm a hick apparently.
I only know the Confederacy for saying mini. I had a teacher my senior year, and he wanted to drill that into everybody in the room. You say Meunier when you're in my classroom.
Wait. He does.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about.
Bald man?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You said what grade?
Senior year.
Oh, okay.
That's when I had him, at least.
Yeah. The man had a rule. Don't speak my name. Don't show my pictures after the year.
Yeah, that was his entire thing.
Yeah, he wanted to not be remembered.
He wants to leave a mystery.
Yes.
Mystery.
He wants to be feared.
Yeah.
So
fear him. He is coming. You don't know him. He is coming.
We have 5 minutes left.
5 minutes left?
What do you want to talk about?
Oh, my Lord. I could go on for a while about John Moses Browning, so I don't want to get there yet. I don't want to just start belting out John Moses Browning
for a little bit.
We still got a little bit.
I talked about the Krag, and then I think it was a Mauser rifle that we had.
Let's talk about Little Man and Big Boy.
That bridges the gap from I
was gonna say, there's a bunch of stuff that happened before the Garand that were huge though, like the first beginnings of actual assault rifles, actual semi. What's the word I'm looking for?
Oh,
sub.
We're around this time period. Let's talk about
guns.
the 1911 for a little bit.
That's what I was trying to avoid, because I can go on about it for a long
Well, you got
time.
4 minutes.
I need more than 4 minutes. I'm going to ramble.
You got 3 minutes.
No, I'm not doing it. 1911?
The 1911 is a
the best
single
thing ever.
stack magazine. I think 7-round mag.
Standard.
For standard.
You can keep one in the chamber. That way you have 8.
Right.
You can put bullets in it. It go pew.
The 1911 was probably the most.
It go more than pew.
Versatile gun of its time.
The best handgun of its time. For a long time.
Until the 80s, when it was finally replaced as the standard issue handgun in the U.S. military.
I was going to say, then it just becomes a game of subjective.
You know what's actually pretty cool about the weapon is that some people in the military actually still carry it today, even though it hasn't been in service since the 80s.
Because it's perfect.
Wyatt says it's perfect.
It is the best handgun.
This is what it looks like when you have a 9mm versus 45 ACP kind of guy. That's us.
When I
45 versus
when
9mm.
I say something should stop, it's gonna stop.
Listen,
that's the biggest downside of Call of Duty Zombies. Is when I shoot that thing with a 45, it doesn't go down.
I know how. I have a Wyatt BB gun.
You can shoot it with a 50 cal, and high enough level, it won't go down.
It should go down with 145.
Well, and see, there was actually a lot of controversy. I just skipped forward 1,000 years, basically, in firearm logic. There was a big controversy. I'm going to talk about this for a little bit because I like this subject for 2 minutes. The switch between 45 ACP and 9mm in the U.S. government was a big controversy. A lot of people were like, it's not enough. It's not enough of a bullet to stop someone. 9mm is plenty, okay? You can kill someone with the 22, okay?
You can.
Yeah. Should you?
I mean, theoretically, you can kill someone with a Calibri, too.
Right.
That's a fun gun. We're going to have to talk about World War I guns one day, and I'm going to go off.
You can kill someone with a BB.
But
through infection.
The U.S. military went from Wyatt's favorite handgun, the 1911, to my favorite handgun, the Beretta M.
Literal perfection.
The Beretta M9, which
We should have went to the 10mm, is what we should have done.
10mm is
10mm goes
in
through
the gun
a brick
community.
Wall, kills a dude and then kills another dude.
In the gun community, the 10mm is known as God's round.
It's perfection.
Okay.
But before the 10mm, it was the 45 ACP was God's round, but now it's the 10mm.
10mm.
It's known as the perfect round. It's actually the. Have you ever seen in real life?
Why is it
not
so
in a video
perfect?
game, a conversion from a 9mm MP5 to a 10mm MP5?
I have not seen this.
Those things are crazy. Bro.
Okay, so 10mm. When they were doing firing tests to see what would be best for people to carry on them at that point, like Fed agents, I think, or something, the 9mm did the job. They decided that 10mm, it was this close to doing it, except it was a little overkill and a little loud. 9mm gets the job done just fine.
45 ACP, I think, still leaves a bigger hole than a 10mm.
Oh, it does. But 10mm, the best part about it is it goes through a brick wall, then the dude's refrigerator, and then him, and then his friend.
Okay.
And that's a little much for.
Is it like just
10 for a handgun?
Why is the composition of the bullet different?
I don't understand entirely. I just know it do what it do.
Like, is it more hollow or more?
We'll see. That
would depend on the round itself.
Yeah, that just depends on the round.
It's something about the actual sizing of it that they did.
Like
that just was
the dimensions?
just right. Yeah.
Okay. What's the ACP stand for?
Oh my god, I don't remember what ACP actually stands for. You had to ask.
I'm sorry.
All capacity pacing.
Is there other ACP?
Is that what it is?
Yeah, there's other ACPs.
Oh, yeah. It's like that's the name that you tag on to certain things. See, there's going to be an episode where I'm going to have to go off on a lot more like weird 1800s
automatic
guns.
Colt pistol.
Is that really what it means?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot more weird 1800s guns, like air guns.
Well, and see the big thing. We didn't talk about this when we talked about
Lewis and Clark had air guns.
Right.
Scary stuff.
We didn't talk about this back in the Wild West days. So a lot of the rifles were chambered in .45 Colt, which was what the Colt revolver most Colt single action revolvers used was .45 Colt and a lot of other pistols. And that was that Schofield I showed you with the big hinge on it.
Yeah.
They came out with the .45 short, and the military hated that, and that because they already had a whole bunch of .45 Colt, and that .45 Colt was too big for the Schofield, so they did not like that. So they were like, "Hey, you either make different, you either make different cylinders, or we're not going to use your gun." And they were like, "Heck you, our thing's perfect." And they were like, "Well, we're not using your gun." And they were like, "No, use our gun." But anyway, so the big deal about the .45 Colt being chambered in rifles and pistols is that it was really easy for people to do because they had one ammunition and two guns that could use the ammunition.
Made it really easy.
And on that note of .45 Colt and it being used in multiple weapons throughout history. Not history. I mean, some history. Anyway, we are out of time for this week's episode of the podcast. Please make sure to go check us out on other platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and what else do we have?
Instagram, Twitter.
Instagram and Twitter. Wyatt,
let us know if you would like more.
And YouTube.
Yeah, if you're not watching us on YouTube, run.
How are you here?
Run.
Also,
the fog
Wyatt,
is coming.
What is the secret word?
The secret word of the day is star. Spell that correctly. I dare you.
And on that note, please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Please make sure to leave a like if you haven't already. And we'll see you
Hit the bell
next week.
Bye-bye.
The fog is coming.